Hello everyone, my name is Ashutosh and I work as a software engineer at RaghuvarTech. Whenever we think about software development, most people picture writing code in a code editor and stitching features together. This approach works initially, but as the scope increases and feature grows in complexity, the approach of just writing code starts to become painful. A new feature is developed and an existing one breaks in the process. The reason could be trivial, like adding a new parameter to the existing service and forgetting about adding that parameter in the current implementation of that service. But that is just the first part of the problem. When you go back to the code and start to debug why the existing feature stopped working, if we don't have proper error handling or a good debugging process, then finding that bug could be very painful. So today I want to talk about how we are going to ease our development process by building a predictable systems. So we can achieve this by focusing on these areas, like getting clear picture of what we are building and writing a predictable code so that we know how the data is flowing through our system, getting better at debugging so that whenever a new bug arises we are able to resolve it quickly, and we should also use AI a bit conservatively so that we are in control of our own code. So let's dive into the first point. So getting clear picture of the feature. So what do I mean by getting a clear picture? Is it writing documentation and design documentation? Well, that is the first step and it will give us clarity of how our software product is working, but that clarity is for the software product as a whole. But as a developer we'll also have to go one level deeper, and you'll have to decide what kind of service and function we are going to make in order to make that feature work. So we'll also have to decide how the data is going to flow through all those services and functions and ultimately to the user. When we have that clear picture in our mind, we can develop features with minimal bugs and without making it more complex than it already is. For example, if you can see on your screen, here is a very simple example of authentication flow. So when a client sends a payload to the authentication API, that auth API calls the auth service, and that service service checks the password and also creates an authentication token, and then that response is sent back to the client. So when we have this clear picture, we can make a system more predictable and with minimal bugs. And you can create this flow for your own and write it on the paper or as a design document so that you can share it with a next developer so that when they are also working on in the similar implementation. So my next point is writing a predictable code. So once we know how the data is going to flow through all the services and functions, next step is to define the shape of that data. So and this is how we are going to enforce the predictability. We can achieve these in few practical ways. One is by declaring the types. When we define type of each parameter and what kind of data a function is going to return, we eliminate any guessworks and we know exactly what to expect. Another way is by passing a named parameters so that we don't have to worry about memorizing and messing up the argument sequence of the argument of a function. So most of the modern programming language supports named parameters, but not all of them, so you will have to be aware of that. And when we add named parameter in the programming, so even if we add new parameters to the existing functions, the older implementation do not break because sequence of argument simply don't matter. So these are just two different ways of making code more predictable. But this is not just about writing code or syntax of the code. This is about a mindset of making things more easier and clearer. And when we adopt this mindset, all of us can come up with our new and our own ideas of how we are going to make things more clearer and simpler. So this way we can always write a code that is more predictable and more painless to maintain. So my next point is getting better at debugging. So debugging isn't just when we get bug in the production. Debugging is a part of development process. So it helps us verify how the flow of data is working and at what point of the code what shape of data we are going to have. And we are also going to verify if it is matching the mental picture of our flow. So most of the common method is simply adding a print statement, and it is going to give us immediate feedback at any point of the execution of the code. One more really effective way is to look at the debug stack trace. That way after reading that stack trace, we will know at which file and exactly at what line the error is happening, so that we don't have to jump around the files just to check what is the point of the bug. And finally, if you need to go deeper, you can run your application through a debugger, so that you can pause the application mid execution and inspect the variables and see exact state of the system without guessing anything. All these methods will give you clarity on how application is behaving in a certain condition. So now finally, we should use AI conservatively. AI is a great tool for development, but we often expect way too much from it, and everyone is vibe coding their entire application now. It feels good, but it feels good that we don't have to work so much anymore, but by time everything starts to go downhill. So imagine if you are vibe coding an application. Initially it makes everything execute really fast and you are able to deliver features quickly, but as the time continues and application grows in complexity, the AI will hit its context window limit and it will start to introduce new bugs. Initially we can ask it to fix those bugs, but since it doesn't have the now entire context of the code base, it will also introduce new bugs in order to fix the existing ones. So when you finally decide to fix those bugs by your own, now you are staring at 1,000 lines of codes and you don't know where to look at for that bug. So now I am not advocating that you should not use AI at all, but you should use that AI inside the boundary of its capability. AI is very good for research and prototyping, but don't let it dictate your architecture and coding pattern. Don't let a co-pilot become a captain of your flight. So again, it is not method or tricks or that you need to follow or a syntax of a code that you need to write. It is about a mindset. The mindset that to make things more clearer and simpler, so that you are able to write more predictable code that is painless to maintain. After you adopt this mindset, you will find your own ways to make things more simpler and make development process more fun and fulfilling. Thank you.